are on the way to my hometown of Kinston, North Carolina, where the North Carolina Barbecue Fest on the Neuse, the largest whole hog cook-off in the world, is taking place. So stick around and check it out. So right now I am on I-95. I just passed the middle point on I-95. I am at mile marker 103. I just stopped and got gas in Holly Springs, and we are almost to Summerton, South Carolina. So we have 242 miles left to Kinston. Got a full tank of gas. It's sunny out, and I'm wearing sunglasses. I made it to Kinston, North Carolina, and I am at the spot where in 48 hours the North Carolina Barbecue Fest on the Neuse will happen. So this whole parking lot right here is going to be filled with all the cook teams and their barbecuers, and they are going to be competing for the gold for the Barbecue Fest on the Neuse. As you can see, they already have everything laid out. This is spot 64 and 65 and 66, and it just goes all out and around in this parking lot. So this competition is so big, they even had to put some of the spaces out here on the road. You have 8, 7, 6, and 5 right down that way, and then you also have a couple more over here. As you can see, they're already setting up, and it is only Thursday. Like I said, you have 48 hours till the competition actually starts. They have a little bit set up over there, and they're getting the tent set up across the street. So before the North Carolina Barbecue Fest on the Neuse begins, I am going to give you the rundown on barbecue. So what is barbecue? Barbecue is when you smoke or roast or cook anything over an open flame, either it be wood, charcoal, and it just sits there and cooks for a long amount of time. So you can have anything barbecue, like barbecue chicken, barbecue pork, barbecue ribs. But the thing about North Carolina is they do the whole hog, which is really cool. So when you do the whole hog, they chop it up and get fine little pieces of meat, and that's North Carolina barbecue. So there are 4 types of barbecue. You have Carolina barbecue, Texas barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, and Memphis barbecue. But what makes Carolina barbecue different is they actually use a vinegar base for their barbecue sauce. But what is interesting is North Carolina actually has two different types of barbecue sauce. So the eastern part of North Carolina uses vinegar, while the western part of North Carolina uses tomato ketchup base in their sauce. We are going to be following one of the cook teams. My uncle Ryan Murphy is actually competing in the competition, so we are going to be watching him get his hog and prepare it and cook it. So that's going to be awesome. So in the next 48 hours, we are going to be watching him set up the whole barbecue fest. I told you it's going to be filled with cook teams and pig cookers. Check it out. So it is not 5 o'clock just yet. We probably got 2 more hours till 5 till the fest is open for the public. And there's still some more parking spaces need to be filled. But while we are waiting, we are getting ready to go interview Ryan Murphy so he can give us some more details on the competition. All right, guys, we are here with Ryan Murphy, and he is one of the competitors for the barbecue cook-off. So tell us how you got into barbecuing.
So when I was growing up, I grew up on a farm. And my granddaddy always, when we had family events and things of that nature, he would always, I grew up on charcoal, and so that's kind of a family tradition. And still today, if we have a family function, today I'm cooking on gas, but if it's for family and I have time, obviously we'll do charcoal. Gas is an easy way of doing things, especially in competition, and on top of that, there's supposed to be some inclement weather tonight, so it's a little bit easier dealing with gas more so than it is with charcoal. But yeah, so I just always had the desire and always had always had enjoyment cooking and just trying out different sauces and things of that nature. And found out about the competition probably 10 years ago, and my first one was at East Carolina University, and so we struck out and tried it, and luckily finished third. And after that, I caught the fever, and it's gone from there. I obviously haven't cooked as much as I wanted to, with so much with COVID, and then merger with the bank that I work with, and so there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. But obviously glad to be back at Kinston, and so we'll just see what happens.
So can you tell us a little bit about the competition, like the rules and things like that?
Sure. So ultimately what the judges look for, there's several different categories. One being the very first thing that they look at is they look at your pig. It's the presentation piece. And all that is they want to make sure that you've got good color. The ribs, there's not any ribs that's popped up. Actually, the pig looks exactly the way that you received it when they delivered the pigs, which will be tonight. And once they do that, they'll flip the pig over and they'll judge for skin crispiness. And what that is they're looking for any parts of the skin that's got soft spots. And what that means is where grease has set on the skin and it's gotten soft. So if you have any soft spots, obviously you get docked points. And also they look on your skin to make sure there's not any places that's burnt. In addition to that, once they're done with the skin piece, they'll break up the pig and they'll mash. Typically they get from the tenderloin and they'll squeeze it to make sure it's got moisture in it. Because a lot of times what happens is when you try to get skin crispiness, you end up drying the pig out. So it's a tough balance to get good moisture and get crispy skin. So they'll look for moisture and judge for that. And the last thing they do is we have to provide sauce bowls. And this is not like your traditional sauce where you would season your pig if you're going to have a pig picking. This is like a dipping sauce. And so everybody on the circuit has their own variations of it, but they'll take the meat and they'll dip it in there, and you get judged on, obviously the taste of the sauce. They typically like it to be sweet with a little bit of spiciness, not overbearing with spice, but just kind of a happy medium.
Can you tell us your cooking process?
So essentially, we'll get the pigs about 7 o'clock. This is just for an example tonight. We'll get the pigs about 7. We'll start prepping them out, which means trimming any excess fat. The spinal cord is still in the pig, so we clean all that up. I mean, the competition itself is judged on what I mentioned earlier, but the same token, you know, it's a pretty contest too, so you have to make sure the pig looks neat and presentable each morning. So we'll spend you know, an hour or so cleaning the pig and getting it prepped to get ready to cook. But what I like to do, what works for me is, you know, I typically put my pig meat side down for about 2 hours on about 250 to 260. And what that does, it gives the skin time to finish drying out, because you don't want to put your pig skin side down if it's not dry, if it's still wet, because that creates soft spots, as I mentioned earlier. So I typically do mine about 2 hours down, and then I'll flip it over and I'll crank the temperature up to about 340, 350 for about 2 hours. And what that does, it tightens up the skin, and it'll create almost a layer of crispy skin, so to speak, but it doesn't. It's just enough so any grease that drips down while I'll continue to cook won't create soft spots, or at least we hope it doesn't. I'll do that for 2 hours, and then I'll turn it back down to about 300 for the remaining probably 4 hours, and then the last hour I crank it up to about 375. Typically I like to give myself about 8 hours, because I constantly checking for, you know, any excess blood that's come out while the cook's going on. I get that cleaned up. In addition to that, also constantly checking for soft spots once it's cooking skin side down. So that's high level what my process is. Yes, that wavers a little bit. Obviously, it's predicated on the kind of pig I get. You know, you get good pigs, you get bad pigs. Some pigs have they might have cuts in the skin where they were dressed. Temperature obviously plays a huge factor in this. When it's cold, you got to cook a little hotter. When it's hot like it is today, you don't have to cook as hot. So it's all predicated on a couple of those variables, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same.
All right, there you have it, guys. So we are going to be following him as he cooks his hog today, and we are going to follow him when he gets the judges up here and testing out his hog, and then we will be here for the award ceremony. So there you have it on that. Alright guys, it is 5 o'clock, which means the North Carolina Barbecue Fest on the Neuse has begun. So we're going to go walk around and check it out. Alright guys, now we got the Waller Adventures crew walking out here. This wild bunch right here. This wild bunch, you got Bobby, and you got Emily, and you got, of course, Darlene. You've seen her before. You've seen Bobby before in the pumpkin video with Ellie. Ellie, and then that's Sawyer.
Don't judge me from the way my child
We don't have wine, all we have is beer.
I thought it said beer and wine.
Well, you get your wristband and you can get
T-shirts, I guess.
yeah.
We might have a t-shirt. Bracelet, right?
Yes, you have to get a bracelet. There you go, ma'am. The bracelets are free. The beer is not.
Hey, I'm Brandon Potter with Magic Mile Screen Printing and Potter Photography. We're out here at the Barbecue Festival on the Neuse today, and we're selling some t-shirts that we printed in-house. We printed them all this week just for the festival, and we've got our, I always do a flying pig design, and this year we got the pig with a rocket on his back there, so pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna get
Come
one.
on out and see us.
Oh man.
Wow.
Wow.
Where'd y'all get them on?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Hurricane Marsh Outfitters. I like those shirts, they're really cool. Got hats. I like that hat. I think we saw these, they're setting them up earlier.
I want flavor peanut butter, salted caramel, Oreo.
I want salted caramel.
Me too. Thank you.
That's my favorite. That's right. Her shirt says I'm here for the fudge. I'm hungry. And then we got hot apple jack.
Wings Round 10, welcome, 560-1903. You're the best.
Awesome.
Look, there's Mirabelle. You want to get a picture? Can we get a picture? Yes. Okay, let me give a photo. Wow, look.
Ooh. Some barbecue sauces. Nice. If you want a funnel cake, you need to come here and get you a funnel cake. They're everywhere.
T-shirts right here. At your thing, we'll do it at your order, wherever you want. We'll put it on the shirt. Step it for you, baby.
Awesome. Oh. They got cool wine glasses.
Yeah, put me on, huh?
Yeah, this is where it was at. That's why I was telling her. Where's your pink and blue one?
So you can hear Tammy Kelly announcing. According to Ryan, what they do is they give you a number on how they are judging. So like, for example, like if Ryan was getting judged, he was number 20 to get judged. He is number 20 to get his hog. So that's what they're doing right now. She is announcing all the orders.
Brian Murphy, Ring of Fire, is the cook team, and he's sponsored by Waller Investigations.
Alright guys, so that's about all of the vendors and everything going on. So once Ryan tells me when he gets his hog, we will start filming that. And that's gonna be an all-nighter. He told me that he normally, if he gets his hog at like 8, he won't put it on the cooker until 12. So we'll be here all night.
Thank you, sir.
Help you out.
No. Did you pull it off? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna come over here to the side. Please over here.
I got extra lights.
No, I got mine right here. I just have to turn.
Yeah.
Smaller than anticipated. I don't see how big. All right. What's your guess? What do y'all think it weighs? I hadn't even looked at it. There you go.
100,
You think it's 100?
maybe.
I'm gonna say 115.
I'm gonna say 108. 4.5.
You were closest for Kayla.
Yeah.
This ain't nothing but this right here is the bacon, and all I'm trying to do here is just get the just trim the fat off. The reason we get the fat off is because when the fat cooks, it renders, which will create grease and which will penetrate through the meat and cause what we call soft spots on the skin.
Okay.
But competitions also, I think I mentioned earlier in the video, it's kind of like it's a pretty contest too. So when the judges come, they want to make sure pig's trim, everything looks neat and manicured. And that goes back to the appearance category. So when the judges come, the pig will look just like this. Obviously it'll be done. And they'll look and see if there's any places that may be burnt or too dark or whatever it might be. And all I'm doing here is just cutting down the middle so it'll help the pig lay flat. It'll cook better that way if it's everything's level on the grill. But other than that, it's just like trimming chicken or steak, just trimming the fat off and getting everything prettied up. Right there, this is the spinal cord of a pig. And so we get this out. This is nothing more but a pretty contest. Man, this is the easiest one I've ever got now. Fall apart. All I'm doing here, Kelly, is just put hot water on to help draw some of that blood out. Shit, right there. Hopefully, same scenario. Hopefully, this water will whiten it on up. I'll put salt on it and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Come wipe it off, moisture off, because it'll get moisture in it, it'll draw the moisture out. And I'll come behind it and put baking powder. Benny Earl.
Yeah, bro.
When you get straightened out, I'll be ready to roll mine on.
I'm ready for you. Whenever
Ready?
you want.
Damn, it feels like it weighs 150 pounds instead of 100.
Just the way you want it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it meat side down, skin side down.
I understand, but you want your shoulder down there?
Yeah, I want my shoulder. That's my hot end down there.
Okay.
Look, we probably just take it and dump it. Ready? Like that. Thank you. I'm good now, bro. Thank you. Yes, sir. That's the one man right there. That's jacked up. All I'm doing here, Kay, these places right here tend to, you got some arteries in here, so sometimes it'll bleed out. So the judges don't like blood marks on the pig. So this is just a kind of a prerequisite. I'll do the blood happens to come out. These paper towels are dried up. This is all this is for. What I'm doing here is I'm going to put double this onion foil up. Put this here, and put this right in here where the tuna one's at. What it does, it helps it from keep it from drying out. still think it's gonna slide when I turn the dang on turn the other. All right, sweet pea. That's the grand finale. Grand finale. Kind of flip anymore.
All right.